Hello, this is Ms. DB. In this video, we are going to do some of the questions on the Adding Integers worksheet. And I have the gizmo open just so we can check our answers as we go. So I have another video in the folder about how to use the gizmos, and that had an optional worksheet that you could complete. And some of those questions were the exact same questions as on this worksheet. All right, so integers, again, are our set of whole numbers and their opposites. Here's the number line that shows the integers on it. Of course, there's more to the right that get bigger, and there's more to the left that get smaller. So for the first only 4 problems, we're going to use a number line to add these, and then we'll talk about the rules. So this is the number line on the gizmo, so that's why I thought it might come in handy. So you can do them by hand if you print this out, or you can do these on the gizmo. If you can't figure out how, if you're doing your work in Word, typing, and you can't figure out how to show the number line, that's fine. You can do it on your own paper and just put the answers here. So if you did print this out and you're able to, you would put a dot at 4 for the starting point, and then you would add 3. Add 3 means go to the right. So I would go 1, 2, 3 more, and then I would put another dot. It's a little sloppy, but I can see that I ended up at the number 7. Now I don't have to use different colors to match the gizmo or anything like that. Let's look at what it would look like on the gizmo. I would start at 4, and then I would add 3 to that. So on the gizmo, we can see that they started by starting at 0. I guess I could have done that. And I went 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. And then I added 3. They used blue for the second color, so I'll do that. 1, 2, 3 more, and that's where we ended up at 7. All right, let's look at -4 plus 3. So we'll start at 0, and we're going to move to -4 on the number line. So a -4 means it'll be less than 0, so I have to go to the left. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where my first number is at -4, and now I have to add 3 to that. So adding 3, I'm adding a positive number. I have to now go 1, 2, 3. I went 1, 2, 3. And if I draw my line straight down, I ended up at -1. Let's check it on the gizmo and see if we get -1 for this one. So -4 we started with, and then we added 3. We did end up at -1. So their picture is a little bit neater than mine, but I have the general idea. I went to the left 4 to get -4, and then I turned around and went to the right 3 to get my final answer of -1. And you'll do the similar thing with number 3 and number 4, and you can use the gizmo to check your work. All right, now we're going to talk about rules for adding integers. You may have noticed some of the rules as we were using the gizmo. Let's look at 2 positive numbers. If we add 2 positive numbers together, we get a number, we add the 2 together using mental math. 4 plus 3 is 7, and the answer is positive. What if we had 2 negative numbers? We add 2 negative numbers together. If we took the absolute value of -4, we would get 4. If we took the absolute value of -3, we would get 3, and 4 plus 3 is 7, but they're negative. So if they're both negative, you're going to get a negative answer, and it will be the sum of their absolute values. So we looked at absolute value in the compare and order assignment. You might need to look back at that. But absolute value is how far a number is from 0. And -4 is 4 units away, and -3 is 3 units away, and 4 plus 3 is 7, so -4 plus -3 is -7. All right, so that's the rules for if you have the same sign. The rule is The sum of two positive integers is positive. The sum of two negative integers is negative. The rule really is add the absolute values together, and then you will be able to get your answer once you figure out this sign. Let me add this to the rules. Add the absolute values. All right, let's look at adding integers with different signs. So let's say one's positive and one's negative. Let's change this one to a positive. Okay, if you have two different signs, so one of them is negative, one of them is positive, we do not add these two absolute values together because the absolute value of -4 is 4, the absolute value of 6 is 6, and that would give us 10. That's not what we do. Instead, what we do is we subtract them. So the absolute value of -4 is 4, the absolute value of 6 is 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. Now, how do we know it's a positive number if we're not using the number line? And here's the rule. The answer will have the same sign as the integer with the greater absolute value. So in this problem, 6 has the greater absolute value, and it's a positive number, so our answer will be positive. Let's try these rules with some of these problems. So in number 5, the problem is -4 plus -9. Okay, before we do it on the gizmo, let's think about it. We have a negative number plus a negative number. Let's find the matching spot. Is it the same sign or different signs? It's the same because they're both negative. So now we have to follow this part of the rule. It says add the absolute values together, and then we'll find the sign. So the absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of -9 is 9. If we add those together, we get 13. So we did this part. We added the absolute values together. Now for the sign, the sum of two positive integers is positive. That's not what we have. The sum of two negative integers is negative. That's what we have. So our answer is going to be -13. Let's check it with the gizmo. We already have the -4 set for the first number. We need this to be -9. -4 plus -9 is -13. So we got the correct answer by using the rules. Let's try another one. Let's try number 6. -8 plus 16. All right. So is that same sign or different signs? Well, one of them's negative. The first one's negative. The second one's positive, so it's different signs. So let's see. To add two integers with different signs, subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value. Let's find the absolute value. The absolute value of -8 is 8. The absolute value of 16 is 16. It says to subtract the lesser one from the greater one. So that would be 16 minus 8. That's 8. And then about the sign, you do this. Give the answer the same sign as the integer with the greater absolute value. Our 16 had the greater absolute value. That was a positive number. So our answer is +8. You don't have to put the plus sign in front of positive numbers unless you want to. Let's check it with the gizmo. We need -8 to start, and then we are going to add a +16 to it. -8 plus 10. Oh, I typed in 10. Do I not get to go 16? There we go. Oh, it won't. The gizmo won't let me go all the way to 16. It has a limit of 10 apparently. I'm not sure why. It's because my slider doesn't go far enough. So I can't check this one on the gizmo. How else could we check our answer? Everybody's saying calculator. Let's check it with a calculator. On a calculator, negative sign is different than the subtraction sign. So make sure you're in scientific mode so you have a negative sign. I have -8 on this calculator. I have to put the 8 in first and then hit the negative. Okay, so I have -8 and I want to add 16. And then hit equal. I got a +8, and that is what I got for an answer. Now remember that If there's no plus sign, it's still positive. You don't have to put the little plus sign if you don't want to. And you're going to continue practicing these, doing as best as you can. All right, the next section, we are going to look at what happens when we combine integers with a variable. So an expression is a number sentence that contains numbers and operations. It's not solved, it's evaluated because there's not an equal sign. So some expressions include variables, and these are called variable expressions. So here's just some vocabulary. And we know that a variable is just a letter that you can use to stand for one or more numbers. All right, let's look at this variable expression. They want us to simplify 5x plus 7x. So because they both have the same variable, they both have the variable of x, and neither x has an exponent, they're both just x. So that means that we can combine them, and the way that we do that is we combine the numbers in front of the variables. So that's why we need to know a little bit about integers first, so that we can use that skill for taking 5 plus 7. Well, 5 plus 7 is pretty easy. They're both positive. I don't think we need the gizmo for this, but 5 plus 7 is equal to 12. So the gizmo can help us find the number part of our answer, but 5x plus 7x equals 12x. It's just like 5 apples plus 7 apples equals 12 apples. So you have to put your x after you add your numbers together. You don't change the x. You don't like write x squared or anything else. You just write the x after you add the numbers together. Now sometimes some of our numbers might be negative. So let's look at 13. 7z plus negative 3z. So we need to combine the 7 plus the negative 3 in order to find out what we have for our variable expression. So 7 plus, I'm leaving the z for now to look at this part, plus negative 3. Let's look at the rules for adding integers. I have a positive plus a negative, so I have two different signs. So it's the second box. And it says to subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater absolute value, then give the answer the same sign as the integer with the greater absolute value. Okay, so the absolute value of 7 is 7. The absolute value of 3, or the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, and I'm supposed to subtract them. 7 minus 3 is 4, and then I need to take the sign of the larger absolute value, which was the 7, and that was a positive. So my answer, if I just had 7 plus negative 3, the answer would be 4. But I have a z. I have 7z plus negative 3z, so my answer will be 4z. We can check the number part on the gizmo, but we can't check the z part because this gizmo is only for integers, not for variable expressions. And this was negative 3. Let's just make sure it's 4. It is indeed 4, so 7z plus negative 3z equals 4z. In number 18, there are three variable expressions to add together. 5a plus negative 1a plus 7a. If you ever have to add three integers together or three terms together, then first start with the first two that are in order from left to right. So the first part we're going to do is the 5a plus the negative 1a. And we'll figure out that part, and then to that we'll add the 7a. So you start with the first two in order from left to right, and then you would combine that answer with the answer at the end, the third one. Okay, you're almost done with the worksheet. There's just two problems at the end that are word problems. And I wrote that it might help to draw a picture because this first one is about an airplane and the second one is a thermometer. It's on a mountain, but it's really a thermometer question. So let's say we have a plane flying at an altitude. That's a height above ground. So if the ground is here, your airplane is, I'm really good at drawing, you can tell. There's my airplane. That's the propeller, this is the tail. And it is 2,500 feet above sea level. This is my sea level right here. If the plane increases its altitude, increases is adding. It means going up even higher. So my airplane's going to go up higher 500 more feet. So now it's going to be up here. Nice plane, huh? So you have to decide, does that mean 2,500 plus a positive 500? Or maybe one of these numbers should be negative? Should it be plus negative 500? That would be if it was decreasing, right? So you decide what your expression should be, and then once you know what your expression is, you'll be able to solve the problem and get your answer. Should I erase that terrible picture? All right, then the next question is about a thermometer, which is a very common way of thinking about integers, and I have one in your week overview, a thermometer drawn. Well, it's a picture. Someone took a picture of it, so it's much better than my drawing will be. It says the temperature on a mountaintop at midnight was -8. Let's put 0 right here. 0 degrees Fahrenheit. -8 would be below 0. Here's -8 degrees Fahrenheit. Now in Minnesota, we're very used to negative temperatures, so we have a leg up on people who live in warm climates who never get to experience it because we are familiar with what happens with negative numbers. And then it says by 3 a.m. the temperature had risen by 3 degrees. If it says it had risen by 3 degrees, that means it goes up. So it was at -8, now it went up 1, 2, 3. And then your job is to find out what would be the temperature now after it goes up 3 degrees. Okay, thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions or if you get stuck, and have a wonderful day.